Hello everybody, I'm Kat and today I'm going to be showing you my July wrap-up and August TBR. So in the month of July, I read 11 books. 11 books is a lot more than what I normally read in a month. I normally read about 3 to 5 books a month, but I read 11, which is more than double what I'd normally read in a month. The very first book I read in July was No Good Deed by Goldie Moldavsky. This book is about a boy named Gregor who really wants to go to this camp called Camp Save the World because his hero Robert Drill is the creator of this camp. Camp Save the World is a summer camp for teen activists who are trying to help change the world for the greater good. And at this camp, the campaigns here are very weird. There's a campaign to stop robots from taking over the world, and there's even a weird one called Eat Dirt, which is what the celebrity guest at this camp has come up with. Gregor's trying hard to avoid this actress at all costs because he is not a fan of her work at all, and he really just wants her to stay away so that way she doesn't ruin his experience at this camp. Then there is a contest that is announced to see which kid at this camp can do the most good. But then the kids end up sabotaging each other's campaigns, and it all goes awry from there. I really liked this book. It was a fun summer read. I couldn't put it down once I got 7 chapters in. Like, I was literally just sitting on my bed reading it, and I ended up staying up until like 2 a.m. to finish it, which has never happened with a book before. Normally I'm able to put it down to get some sleep and then pick it up right where I left off when I wake up in the morning, but that was not the case with this one. I just had to keep reading to figure out what was going to happen. I have a full review for this book that will be linked down below, so you can go check that out if you haven't already watched it, and that goes more in depth with all my thoughts. But I really enjoyed this book and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in July was Alex and Eliza by Melissa de la Cruz. This book is like a YA retelling of sorts of Alexander Hamilton and Elizabeth Schuyler's relationship. I started reading this book right before I saw the musical Hamilton in San Francisco, and I finished it a week after because I was really busy and I was traveling, so I didn't get a chance to read more of it after I saw the musical. I really enjoyed this. I actually listened to most of this on the audiobook, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. I'd recommend this book if you are a fan of Hamilton the musical because this book is just so adorable. I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was so cute and so enjoyable. The next book I read was Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This book, you guys, this book follows our main character Eliza Merck, who is a senior in high school. In high school, she's not very popular. She's kind of a loner. She doesn't have any friends. But when she logs on online, she is Lady Constellation, and she is the creator of the popular webcomic series called Monstrous Sea. And this webcomic series is big. Millions of people tune in every week to see more of her pages being uploaded, and they read them. And there are some people who write fanfiction about it. Then one day, this new student moves to Eliza's school named Wallace. And Wallace turns out to be one of the biggest fanfiction writers of her webcomic series Monstrous Sea. But the thing is, Wallace doesn't know who Eliza is. Wallace just thinks that Eliza is a fan of the series. So we watch as Eliza and Wallace start bonding over Monstrous Sea and other fandoms that they're interested in, slowly as they get to know each other more and form a relationship. But then one day, Eliza's secret gets out, and this affects not only her relationship with Wallace, but her sanity as well. This book is my favorite read of the year, hands down. It has topped Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. I laughed, I smiled, and I cried, and it takes a lot out of me to cry in a book, as you guys know. I didn't even cry reading Lord of Shadows, and like everybody has cried reading Lord of Shadows. I'm like one of the few people that didn't cry. But I cried reading this book. I had just 2 tears just going down my face at this moment in like the last 60 pages of the book, because wow. It does kind of have a slowish beginning, but it really picks up halfway through it. If you are currently reading this book and you are having a hard time just kind of getting into it more, please keep reading until you get about halfway through it, because that's when it really picks up and everything changes, and it's so good. I gave Eliza and Her Monsters 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I'd recommend this to everybody. And then Booktubeathon happened. These next 8 books are all books I read for Booktubeathon. The first book I read was Sailor Moon Volume 9. This volume was just perfect. I loved it. It was so nice to be able to go back into the world of Sailor Moon with this volume. This is a volume that's very easy to go back into the world of Sailor Moon after you've taken a break from it for a few months, like I have. I gave Sailor Moon Volume 9 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed coming back into the world of Sailor Moon because it's been a while. The next book I read was Queens of Geek by Jen Wilde. This book is about 3 friends who go to this convention called SupaCon. It kind of reminds me of Comic-Con. One girl is named Charlie, and she is a vlogger and now an actress just trying to promote her new movie at SuperCon, and she's also trying to show her fans that she is completely over her breakup with this boy named Reese Ryan. But then when she meets one of her favorite YouTubers, Alyssa Huntington, she realizes that her feelings for her aren't as one-sided as she always thought they were. Then our other character is this girl named Taylor who likes blending in. She fears change, and so she doesn't like it, and she really hopes the one thing that doesn't change is her friendship with this boy named Jamie. No matter how much she may want it to change, she really doesn't want it to change. But when she hears about a fan contest for her favorite fandom, she starts to rethink her rules about playing it safe. This book was adorable. I read this book for the Read a Hyped Book Challenge, and I don't get why it gets so much hype. Yes, it was adorable, but I was expecting it to blow me away like this trilogy did. Don't get me wrong, I still really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Sailor Moon Volume 10. This one is not my favorite volume. I still really enjoyed it though. I actually ended up reading this volume in record time, which was 45 minutes. I've never read a book over 100 pages that fast. It was a fun volume, but it wasn't my favorite, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Wink Poppy Midnite by April Genevieve Teholke. That's how the audiobook pronounced her name, so I'm gonna go with it. This book follows 3 characters. It follows Wink, who's this girl who is like in half fantasy land who believes in magic. Then it follows Poppy, who is the mean girl of their grade. And then you have Midnite, who is moving from his house that was just down the street from Poppy, and he ends up moving next door to Wink, and he's trying to get over his huge crush that he used to have on Poppy because he's realized how mean Poppy is. This book was weird, really weird. This book starts off as a dark contemporary read. It even looks like a dark contemporary from the cover. Then it gets really violent out of nowhere. Then all the characters believe that this one thing happened, but it's just too good to be true that it's so unbelievable. As a reader, you're like, that definitely did not happen. And then it ends with the reader finding out who is behind basically this whole book, and you're left kind of dazed and confused. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a fast read, but it was weird. Next, I read Sailor Moon Volume 11. This volume is my least favorite out of the 12 volumes in the series. There was so much info dumping in this one, and 2 characters were missing, and those characters brought key elements to the story, so it felt like when they were gone, those elements were gone, and it just wasn't the same story as it was in the past few books. So I only give this one 4 out of 5 stars because the info dumping in this one was just... I did not like the fact that there was so much info dumping just throughout this book. Then I read Looking for Alaska by John Green. This book is not my favorite John Green book. That would still have to go to Paper Towns. As you guys know, I do love Paper Towns a lot, but I still really enjoyed this one. I think this book is my second favorite John Green book. This book follows a boy named Miles, and he is obsessed with famous last words, and he's been craving this great perhaps. He then heads off to this boarding school called Culver Creek, and his world becomes anything but safe because down the hall there is this teenage girl named Alaska Young, who is basically the definition of your manic pixie dream girl. She pulls Miles into her world and launches him into this great perhaps. But after, nothing is ever the same. This book is really cool because it has a backwards timeline, so you literally start 100 days before, and then you don't know what happened. I loved the characters in it because they were just so vibrant. I really enjoyed this book, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Also, there's a Borders bookmark in this book. Like this video if you remember Borders. If you don't remember Borders, I am so sorry. Next, I read Sailor Moon Volume 12. I love this volume so much. This is my favorite volume in the entire series. It gave me all the feels, and I really enjoyed reading it, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And the very last book I read for Booktubeathon and for the month of July was On the Fence by Casey West. This book follows a girl named Charlotte, aka Charlie, and she is a tomboy. She's been raised by a single dad and 3 brothers, and because of this, she can outrun and outscore any other boy her age, including their honorary 4th brother, Brayden, who is the neighbor that lives behind them. But then one day Charlie gets a speeding ticket, so she has to get a job, and she ends up getting a job at this super girly boutique. Even stranger, she's spending time with this boy who has never seen her tear it up in a game. To cope with the fact that she has this new job, she ends up talking to Brayden at the fence that links the 2 of their houses, and they have these nightly talks like in the middle of the night. But slowly Charlie begins to realize that she is falling madly in love with him. I hated the main character Charlie. It's pretty funny because I chose this book for read a character who's different than you, and I ended up hating the main character of this book. I hated the fact that she was literally mean to everybody except her own family. Yes, she was even mean to Brayden. But the funny thing about it is normally when I read a story and I hate the main character, I hate the story. I really enjoyed this story. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed the story and I ended up giving this 3.75 out of 5 stars. And now it's time for my August TBR. The very first book I want to read in August is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I started reading this book in July, right after I finished Alex and Eliza, and I've been reading it pretty slowly. Mostly I've been listening to the audiobook of it because for some reason I have such a hard time getting into Sarah Dessen's books and I have no clue why. The audiobook has really helped. So far I would give it maybe like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm only enjoying the backwards storyline that we've been getting throughout this book. You'll hear more of course in my wrap up for August when I actually finish this book. This book is about a girl named Luna who doesn't believe in true love because her first love ended tragically. Her mom runs this wedding planning business with her best friend William, and Luna has been helping out with her in this business too, and she's handled AWOL brides and jealous bridesmaids and like anything you can imagine at a wedding. But then there's this boy Ambrose that's inserted into this picture, and Ambrose is this happy-go-lucky type of guy and Luna cannot take him seriously at all. She ends up betting that he can't change, but he's super competitive and doesn't like getting what he wants. And Luna is the girl that he's always been waiting for. The next book I want to read, I'm so excited. I've already started reading it, and that is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. This book during Booktubeathon kept calling out to me like, read me, and I'm like, I can't, I'm in the middle of a readathon. I can't start this huge book in the middle of a readathon. So I told myself right after Booktubeathon ended, I would pick up this book and read it. Well, I'm on chapter 4 currently and the page numbers are all kind of crazy. I'm like 50-ish pages into it and I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying to take it as slow as I can, really absorbing in all of the story. And the very last book I'd like to get to in August is P.S. I Like You by Casey West. I've had this book for over a year on my shelf and I figure, you know what, it's time to read it. I'm pretty excited to read it considering I really enjoyed Casey West's writing style and the story she wrote. I've just heard this book is just really adorable and I actually plan on listening to the audiobook of this one as well. Alright, and that is it for my July wrap up and August TBR. Let me know down below some of the books that you read in July and some of the books you plan to read in August because I would love to know. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos every Thursday and I will see you in the next one. Bye!